Hi, Happy New Year. My name is Martha, and welcome back to Marita Reads. I'm going to do the top five of my favorite books from 2021. This list is mainly composed of like two 5 stars, a 4.5, and like two 4 stars. So, yeah, I think it was a okay reading year for the times I managed to read. So, it's a good sign, I guess, that I managed to you know, enjoy some of the things I read. So at number five, we have The Gilded Ones by Namina Fona. This is a YA Afro fantasy about a girl who is supposedly a demon, and she must decide whether she will fight for her country or, die by the same country. I guess not a very good explanation for the book, but I think I have reviewed this before, or if not, I'm very sorry. But I quite enjoyed this book. I remember flying through the first 100 pages. It's very exciting. It's very fast paced. You just dive into it straight away. And I love the characters. Like, I love the main character. I love the sidekick character. It gets a 4 stars from me because I think it was a bit too young for me. There were some cuss words that did need to be used, like feck. Who is using that in a YA book? The writing confused me as to what age it was targeting, whether it's a middle grade or if it's targeting adults or young adults, because there was a lot of violent and graphic content here. There's also warnings for sexual violence here. I don't remember if it was described or just happened on page. I think it was described, but it happened off page. Otherwise, it was a really good book. I think people who didn't like it was because it was mistakenly, marketed to adults. Like, I saw a lot of adults picking it, so I think that's what made it suffer. But I think it was a very good book, a very good debut novel. Although I don't think I'll be picking the next book in the series, just because I think no, there's not enough for me to be like, what's gonna happen next. But it was a pretty good book overall. And the number four book is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. This is about Rin, who goes to this what's it called? A college, a war college called Guard, and she goes to learn how to fight for her country because there's a war impending. And amongst this, there are the hidden gods that she gets to learn about, and it's like, will this god control her, or will she control the god, basically. I think that's the kind of thread of the whole Poppy War series, and I really liked this book. It was, I think I liked it better because of the number one book that I loved, but it was okay. The characters were compelling. I think it's been a year for me to learn that I like complicated characters, and characters that aren't so black and white, morally great characters that don't apologize for being bad. But Rin kind of is confusing, and I don't know. I feel like she justifies too much about who she is. She doesn't have a purpose. I keep comparing her to the top five, the number one book that I have on my list, the character, but she literally has no ambition. I don't know what her motivation is. She's supposed to be smart. She's trained in things like in various things, and then she just falters at the end. Like, what did I read the first 3 quarters of the book for? Like, in the third act, like, she just falls apart, and I don't know if I'm supposed to root for her anymore. But I still, like, I stand her. Like, she decided to remove her uterus. Like, oh, you. Apart from all the other things, I can't speak too much on the sexual violence and how it is depicted here. I know it's based on real violence that happened. which I can't speak too much about because I would need to do more research. But I don't know. I can't say that it was depicted delicately, but it's just something to watch out for when going into this book. I quite liked it. Like, that's what I can say about it. Currently starting the sequel, and I think it's okay. For a big book, this thing really moves fast. And the number three, we have Black Sun by Rebecca Ronhorst. This is about a Greek god called Serapio, who is escorted by a captain who will escort him to his destiny. And there's also a sun priest involved. So his destiny is to go and face the sun priest. And there's also another character that comes in later. I really liked this, although it was a bit slow for me. It shined when Serapio and Ziala, who is the captain, were on page together, and I didn't really want to skip reading their parts. The other point of view characters, it was a slog to get through them. That was Narampa and Okoa. Narampa and Serapio are kind of the plot kind of revolves around them. Like, they are the ones who move the plot, and I would say Ziala is somebody who is sort of accompanying Serapio, but not much character development happens for her. Well, a major one happens. I mean, this book also has some surprises in it, which I won't say. It's the first in a series, so I'm excited to see where it's going to go. I want to read the next one because there were a lot of cliffhangers. Like I said, I've been liking morally great characters, and I like that Serapio does not apologize for his mission. He is determined to see what he is destined for through, and he will not let anything like guilt rack him. I think the question in this book is, at what point are you the god and at what point are you human? What is driving Serapio? And there's a lot of generational trauma in this book, so it's like, at what point do you carry the burden of your people, and at what point do you think that, can I just be a man? Can I just, marry Ziala and have kids and, traipsy along the way and stuff? And oh, I forgot to mention, I love Ziala. She is a bisexual babe. She is always horny. She is always trying to jump Serapio. She is so funny. Like, she is a refreshing character compared to Rain. Oh my god, she knows her worth. She knows what she's after. She has her insecurities, but I love her. Narampa needs an improvement. She is very annoying. She is like Rain in that she is a powerful person who has no idea what the fuck she's doing and is just flailing around and lets everything just happen to her. Like, things just happen to her. She had a love interest that I wasn't interested in, although they were a non-binary person and they were use of, je and je pronouns. I'm not sure if I said those right. But apart from that, Narampa is very remarkable. Okoa is nothing to write home about. I mean, he's just there. He's just there because it's convenient for him, for the plot, that he's there. That's it. Otherwise, I love Zerapio and Giala, and I think that there's love there. And I was at one point I was like, isn't this just love? Like, I want to protect Serapio and Giala, and like, they're so sweet. Like, they are so sweet, but like, don't fucking mess with Serapio. Like, anyway, I won't say more, but like, this was wonderful, like extremely wonderful. Okay, my number two book was Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. Once again, please go and listen to the audiobook. Like, it was always excellent. And two people actually read it. I forget the other. I think her last name is Marte, but the audiobook is excellent. And the way Marte reads, oh, I should say what it's about. So it's about Camino and Yahara, and these two sisters have never met each other, but their father dies and they find out that they have a sister, and one is in the Dominican Republic and another one is in New York, and suddenly they want to see each other, because the death of their father brings them together. I really love Camino's perspective. There were scenes that are read so powerfully that I just got sucked in, and it was so emotional. Azevedo just does what she does best, and she makes everything seem so familiar, even though I'm not from the dom rep. Like, everything feels so like I could have lived that life, and I could have grown up with those people, had these situations. I should warn that there is a bit of sexual assault here. Acevedo just writes characters that are real, like people who feel real, and also like very soft characters. Like Dre is a gem. Dre is the girlfriend of Yahaira. She is just wonderful. Like, Asavedo just knows how to write a love interest. I said it was like, sitting in front of a fire, like reading and drinking a hot cocoa and just feeling like you're wrapped up in your home. Even though it's an unfamiliar place, it's so familiar, and that's what Asavedo does best. And I will never give her less than a 5. Like, she can never ever let me down. Let me not speak too soon, but like, that's how I feel right now. So the number one book I read in 2021 is She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. This book is wonderful. Like, I don't know what you're doing if you haven't read this book. Like, this thing was everywhere last year and the year before, because some people got arcs way before everyone else. But this is excellent. This is about a nameless girl who takes her brother's destiny and wishes to become great. Because that was the destiny given to her, and she wants to avoid her destiny of becoming nothing. She's called Zhu Chongba. I hope I got that right. This book is about desire, and it's about power. It's about mostly desire and how this desire drives us, and desire for in the erotic sense, desire for love, desire to become great, and how this desire is connected with pain. There was so many good themes in this, and there are also strong theme of identity, gender identity. So Zhu Chongba she's referred to as she in the book, but is very much a man, lives as a man, and cannot imagine ever identifying as a woman. But then kind of tries to, accept her body, but not, accept that is I don't know how to quite explain it, and I'm not the best person to explain it. I think if you want to know more about this book, you should seek out, non-binary own voices reviewers. But I just loved how this idea was expressed in this book, that you can feel how much she is struggling, that this identity and her desire are so great that you cannot take it from her, and if you try and take it from her, like, you're finished. And I love that Zhu Chongba, like, whenever she has, I'm referring her to she just because she's referred to like that in the book, but like, even when she has nothing, she has a plan. Like, she is gonna do something about it. Like, I think she's also based on a real character in history, although I don't want to, tell you to go and research, because that would probably spoil the fun. But this was like excellent writing, an excellent debut, the best debut in 2021 in my opinion. And oh yeah, it's also sapphic, so there are some pleasant surprises inside. And oh, I should say, along with Zhu Chongba, there's another guy who is called Ouyang. Oh my god, Ouyang. The desire for revenge is also another theme here. Basically, Ouyang is in love with his commander, whose name I forget. Starts with an E though. It's this tragic story of him suffering all his life, and it's also about his identity as a man. Like, what does it mean to be a man, and what does it mean that he has this attraction to another man? He despises women because of what has been done to him, but it kind of makes sense. Like, you will never hear me justifying misogyny in a book, but like here it makes sense because he hates himself. I could go on and on about this book. It is just very well written. And I think the author put it like this: she wrote about an asshole, but then the asshole, we like them because there are bigger assholes in the story. Just go and read it. Just go and read it. It's, I think, a very low fantasy thing because also Zhu Chongba has this thing in her, but I'm not gonna say what it is. But it's basically a lot of politics mainly, and not so much, you know, magic and stuff. But it's a very well built world, and that that comes across. Like the world building is excellent and everything. I don't want to go on and on and on and make this video too long. Oh, and also, like, if you like queer C dramas, like Chinese dramas, like, you would love this. Like, if you loved Untamed, if you loved Heaven's Official Blessings, I don't know. Okay, so TGCF, that's the abbreviation. I promise you, if you Google that, you will find the full thing because I don't speak Chinese and I'm not about to mess it up. And also MDZS. I'm sorry. I know people on Twitter always complain about using abbreviations, but like, I'm not about to speak some Chinese and get clowned. Like, that's not happening. So yeah, if you look those up, they are very similar, and I think that's what helped me like the story even more, because if you're not familiar with how Chinese write their, you know, and do their stories, like, you will find it very odd. Oh, I love the way it was written, almost like translated. You could tell that it feels like a Chinese author like wrote it in Chinese, then translated it in English. How cliche, right? Like, my battery went out. But what I was trying to say, and then I'll wrap this up real quick, is you could tell when a character was using formal and informal language, and this would dramatically change the relationship that a character had to another, or it would indicate that this character is being too familiar, or it would indicate that, you know, they are being more serious, or taking another person less seriously. So those are all little details that I love throughout the book, and I mean, I can't sing enough praises about it. Like, I just like obsessed with it, and I cannot wait for the next one. I probably won't get it here. Like, it's a stroke of luck that I even got the physical one, but I can't wait for the second book. Honestly, I thought it could have been just a standalone, but whatever's coming, like, give it to me. But I could have worked just the way it is, and that's what I like about series. I always like for a book to work on its own, which I think is a weakness of the rest of the series I've shown so far. But that wraps up the top 5 of my 2021. Those are the best books, in my opinion, that I read last year, and I hope this year to read even better books and have more books to choose from, and have a more difficult time picking a top 5. But other than that, I will see you next time in my next video. Bye.